again to the YouTube fishing world out there. So I've been thinking about this video for a while and trying to refine it. I've shot in a few parts, do my best to go over a few things to make sure you end up on the right side of YouTube when you are out there on the water. I watch a lot of those like Broncos Guru videos of mishaps at the boat ramp and such. So this is not a video about how to buy a boat or how to back your trailer or any of those kind of things, but it's some things on once you've got your boat and maybe you're about to head out there this Memorial Day. By the way, we used to camp every Memorial Day at Cherokee Lake near the dam. There's a really big ramp there. I may show that one as part of the next part of this video, but we would see a lot of these things happen there, and a lot of really nice boats. People would go out for the first time with their new boat. So this is going to be a three-part video. Number one is this. I'm going to go over some things on the trailer and things you need to consider before you leave home. And then number two, we're going to show you, actually number one, I'm going to show you on the computer how to do a little bit of preparation to make sure that you know what you're getting into before you show up. Number two is some things to do at home on the trailer. And then number three will be actually putting the boat in the water. I shot that a couple days ago at Cherokee Lake. So let's get started. All right, thanks for sticking with me so far. We are on the computer and I'm going to show you a few useful tools to help make your day go as smooth as possible. So this is the tn.gov or Tennessee Wildlife Resources Boat Ramp Finder, complete with interactive map. So one really cool thing I did notice on this map is these fish are actual fish attractors. This is a boat dock, sells gas, etc. And then here are access points. So this is a great illustration of why I think we need to do some research before heading to the water for the first time or with your new to you boat. So this ramp, you can see here off Highway 92, there's the dam, and then there's another ramp over here. Now, this one, I'm going to show you some information. It's gravel, less than 25 spaces, trailer space is 5 to 10. I have fished Cherokee quite a bit, and I'm not really familiar with this ramp, but I do know this one's pretty big. So I think most states will have some type of a finder such as this to show you where you can access your local reservoir, or river in some cases. I zoomed way out there, sorry about that. So what do you want to look for before you go? I would say start here, trying to find ramps, or if you know of a ramp just offhand, maybe I'll show you some things in the next piece here in Google Earth that will help you decide if that's the one that you want to go to. So let's switch over to Google Earth and continue. Welcome to Google Earth. If you watch many fishing videos, you know just how useful this can be. As far as finding places to fish, we are going to use it for a slightly different purpose today. So I'm going to take you and show you kind of what I would look for if I'm going to be taking my boat out for the first time or the first time this year, or in some cases with your family, your pontoon or your jet ski also qualify in this. Those are both a little bit tougher boats to drive because of the high size, lightweight, or in a jet ski's case, no true skeg / rudder. So this is, I'm going to show you a couple different ramps. So this is the ramp at Cherokee Dam. If you recall the website I just showed you, this is the one, and I'll zoom out again so I can show you kind of what I'm talking about. There is the river, there's the dam, and here's the ramp. The other ramp we were looking at, if you notice, you can't see it. So where is it? And scrolling down the shoreline here, oh, there it is. So if you notice this ramp, now this time of year, the lakes that you're going to should be high enough that this is not an issue. This image was taken on October 23rd of 2019. And you notice the ramp is not in the water. There's a small gravel parking lot. There is a nice in and out over here. So that's one good thing to look for, but there's no boat dock here. And just keep in mind that right now, this image is October. Let's say that the spring is coming along and it's March. What if the water is here? You may back off the end of this ramp, your bottom your trailer out, damage it, or in some cases, you may have to be towed off of this ramp
There's a local YouTuber who had this happen to him with his Triton bass boat. So if the water's clear enough, you can walk down to the end of the ramp or the edge and check and see where the end of the ramp is and make sure that you are going to be able to safely use it. So also something to consider too is the roads on your way to these boat ramps. So there's some neighborhoods and some small roads going to this one. If it's your first time pulling the boat, probably want to stick with something more like this one over here. If you notice, is off of a major highway. That major highway connects to another major highway, and so forth. So you're probably not going to have too many narrow roads, don't want to take out mailboxes kind of thing getting there. So this ramp, I noticed right away, it has a boat dock. It has a large area. And a couple things we can account for is we can go ahead and start making plans for how we would enter. So we're going to come in this way. And based on the way the parking spots are, I think most people pull out or up to this gravel and go to one of these spots or up here. So what we can do is go ahead and think, well, we're going to come in here. We're probably going to go around, pull up, get a good angle, and back down into the water. We don't know what this area right here is like. If you're going to put it on this gravel, I will tell you, you do want four-wheel drive. The tension of the water and the weight of your boat or trailer, it's going to put a lot more pressure on you to try to get out of here without getting stuck. So stick to the concrete if possible, or if you need to. We don't know what the surface is going to be like based on these images most of the time, but you don't know also, is there going to be some algae or some slick mud or anything right here? So be careful as you walk down the ramp, you go to get in your boat or whatever you're doing, make sure you don't fall. I'm not saying I've had this happen to me, but I've seen it happen to a few people. If you watch some of the Miami boat ramp type videos, there's some really bad algae and people just straight up slide on out into the water there. So we noticed it has a dock here. Is that dock going to be there in the summer? On Google Earth, we can go and slide this timeline back a little bit. There's June of 2019. So that dock does move with the water level. So you will have a good place to pull your boat up to get in and out. And you notice how much this lake fluctuates. So just looking at the shoreline, not a whole lot of gravel here. This ramp is definitely going to be good for the summer, probably year round. But also you're going to notice that the ramps get a lot shorter. So now maybe you can back down this other ramp a little easier. You don't have to back as far. But the big thing is to make sure that you come around, get a good angle to whichever one. How you start backing is going to determine a lot about how successful you are in doing it. So a couple other things to consider is the location of the ramp as it's located to current and wind. So if you notice this lake, and we can see on this image in June, there's definitely some wind breaking up the water. Can't really tell for sure which way it's blowing. I think it's blowing this way. So starting here and blowing up the lake. And the dam being over here means you're probably not going to have too much current to contend with. Oops, sorry. The ramp is in this cove. Maybe you'll have some wind coming from this way, but it's not, let's say the ramp was out here. Now you would have a lot of wind to contend with. So this is a good example of a ramp that you would want to use as a first time this year, or you're new to U-boat or new boat or whatever it is. Great place to start. Let's look at a couple of other ramps. I know I showed you one in the back of that cove as a not great one to use. I'm going to take us down to Fort Loudon Lake on the Tennessee River. Ooh, went a little too far. And show you what I mean about reading current. So this, if you see there's not many coves, this is a straight shot. That current is coming down through here. This is an island. Current's coming off of here. And here is the Ned McWhirter Park boat ramp underneath James Watt Parkway. You can't see, but you turn in here, you drive underneath here. And actually it's not too bad because you come up this way, but you do have to back it a little further on this ramp than you would some of the other ramps at full pull. And you're going to have to contend with the current. And another thing you may notice is there are no buoys around this ramp. That tells me there's probably not a no wake zone at this ramp. Similar situation, let's go on down the river further. We'll go to a place called George's Creek as another ramp that's a little tougher to use. I still do it sometimes. You've probably seen a video where I almost busted my butt and had my boat ram into this ramp because I didn't tie my rope correctly. But you see there's two different ramps here. This one's really shallow. This one looks more like a regular ramp. So you would want to come in and pull around. If there's people parked here, you're going to have some trouble making this turn. But you pull in this way, make the turn, and then back down. I have seen where there's a lot of people like to bank fish. They'll specifically be on this ramp most of the time because it doesn't get used as much. But you notice there's no dock, and there's not really a good place to pull your boat up to beach it. There is some grass over here, I think, but there's actually a lot of mud. You can kind of tell by the colors here that this is a very muddy spot. So hope I covered some things in here that help you all out. And, you know, overall, I think this is one of the most important pieces, probably the most boring part of this video, is watching me go boat ramp to boat ramp. But, you know, this should help you out a whole lot if you prepare correctly. And I'm just scrolling now to look for another ramp to pick on. But it should help you out quite a bit when it comes to preparing and getting ready for a successful day. Like this is Louisville Point boat ramp. It's a really easy one to back in. You come up, drop your boat in, boat dock's right there, and then there's some really nice parking out through here. So that's another good ramp to look at. I'd also see some buoys out here, I believe. Probably showing there's actually a pretty big ledge out here, but maybe a no wake zone too. So appreciate you sticking with me through this. I hope this helps. Now let's go out to the water.
So here is maybe the most important part of you getting to the lake that day, making sure you have everything hooked up right. So make sure this is down on the ball. Put the I don't know what the technical term for this is. This is now called the lever. It's all the way down, and I have a lock and make sure it's locked. One tip that I have for getting a lock is making sure it's one that's made for a trailer, but also keeping your keys to this lock either on your car keys or on your boat keys or in your boat or somewhere. And that way, if you needed to ditch this trailer for some reason, you have the key with you to get this unlocked. Make sure you have your chains on. I always cross my chains. That one's a little twisted, which probably isn't great, but you can see I still got a ton of pollen on here from the other day. But the idea here is if something did go catastrophically or terribly wrong, this little basket would catch the tongue before it hits the highway and hopefully save you some money. Make sure you have your lights hooked up, and I recommend checking your lights every once in a while. I don't go a whole ton, as you guys know, so I'm not too concerned about it. Make sure your front strap is tight, or tight enough, and then that your jack is secured up and out of the way. If you watched another one of my videos, I had to make a sliding bracket for my trolling motor. I always make sure this is tight. My little girl likes to play out here. I take a look at my tires typically when it's in the garage. I will check the pressure. I just was out a couple days ago, so I know we're good. Not a bad idea to go ahead and check your pressure though. Make sure your straps back here are tight. And then I usually would just kind of look everything over. The transaver is not on it now. And like magic, now it's on. So when I put my transaver on, I still use the old school transaver. This is where this video could like go viral because people fight about this online all the time. My brain tells me that I want the shock of this motor when the trailer bounces and this motor is moving. I want that force to transfer down into the trailer and not on this transom. So fight me about that if you want. That's my logic. These new motor toters kind of sitting here somewhere on these ramrods that these bigger motors have, and they don't have any support from the trailer to hold the motor. My brain tells me that old school transaver is probably still the way to go. So walking around, I'm gonna check this strap. Actually, this one's actually a little bit loose. Just give it one little click there to keep it tight. I will tell you, when I have this boat in the garage, I will sometimes keep these really loose. I just feel like why keep the extra tension on this old boat's transom if I don't have to. Next thing is I already see a violation, if you want to call it that. I need to clean up the boat cushions and make sure they're not in a position where they're going to fly out. You are required in most states to have a boat cushion, a fire extinguisher, a horn, and someplace a paddle. I don't have a paddle in here. I kind of feel like with the trolling motor, things have to go really, really wrong before I don't have either motor running right. So I'm going to fix that cushion. I also will make sure these seats do fold down. I will put the little leashes on there before we go. And that way I just kind of keep everything in place and don't want any surprises. These seats aren't going to fly out, but if they flip up and catch my eye in the mirror just right, I may think something did fly out. So I don't want to secure those before we go. About to take the transceiver off to show you one more thing on the motor area back here, but I always make sure that I have this little cable on my transceiver around here. If something does go wrong, if it were to fall off of here for some reason, it's not just going to tumble behind me and have a car hit it and damage their car. So just keep that in mind as well. Anything that flies off your boat, you're going to be responsible for. This is something I see, or used to see a lot. I don't think I see it as much anymore, but this will save your motor. Do not start your motor out on the water, ever. Unless you, I'll say ever, unless you have the muffs on there, have it in a bucket. Basically, inside this silver unit is an impaler. It's a round, and I'll put a picture of it up actually so you can see it. It sucks water through these holes up into the motor, and that's your cooling system. And then this is your peer right here. If it is not peeing, there's a good chance that it is clogged up or something's going on and it's not sucking the water up in there. It does not take long to burn that impeller out. And then, of course, your motor could overheat. Newer motors, not this old boy, have a lot of features that would keep you from blowing it up. But if you have an older motor like this one, I always just kind of keep an eye and make sure it's peeing. But don't start this motor unless this is thoroughly into the water. I normally tell people, you know, try to get this top of this cavitation assembly just into the water. Truthfully, with these older motors, the way that the carburetors are like that in there, you really want it to be about as level as you can be when you try to start it. That will help the gas come in. I'm doing a really terrible job of illustrating this, but you get the idea. Okay, so now let's head to the lake. And one last thing I'm going to do before we go to that part is I'm going to put up a list that I use before I go. And I know it seems stupid to have a checklist, especially been doing this for a long time, but it still helps me out. I still, without this list, even with this list, I've gotten to the lake a few times and realized I was forgetting stuff. So I'm going to flash that up. You can screenshot it, make your own, whatever you want to do. But now let's go to the water and I'll show you how to actually get it in the water. And this is mostly by myself / with my son with me. So now that we are here at the lake, I'm going to go over a few things I do to try to make my boat launching a little easier and more effective and safer mostly. Of course, you're going to want to remove your transceiver, which we will do in a second, but also make sure that you got your plug in. I have 2 plugs. I plugged my live well because my little, I don't know what you call a valve, I guess, doesn't work exactly like it should. I'll try to do this one good. Oh, there we go. I'm getting old, but I can still do some things. There we go. Got the old foot to hold the transceiver. So next thing we're gonna do is take our straps off. I don't think I'll be able to do that one-handed, but I am going to leave the front strap attached until I get a little closer to the water. So next thing I've done is I have a 25-foot rope, or thereabouts, and I have it clipped onto my front eyelet. You can see it's running underneath the boat, and I have it tied to this guard indicator roller apparatus is what we're going to call it. So the idea here is that when I back the boat off, it'll slide off the trailer, and I'm doing this on the driver's side so I can just hop out and grab this rope. If you paid attention to one of my other videos, I used to pile the rope here. It got stuck on this cleat and almost dragged my boat sideways into the boat ramp. So lessons learned, don't want to be on YouTube for the wrong reasons. So we're going to leave, like I said, that hook clipped until we get down there, and I'll show you how this goes. So one thing to watch out for when the rope is down here like this is you don't want it to fall off and get in your trailer wheels. This rope is about the right length and it's almost impossible for it to do it, but I did still watch out my rearview mirror. So now we're going to take off our main strap.
catch, buddy.
So a few things I'm fully recognizing is that this is a slow day at the ramp. Also, this is a ramp that has a very large no wake zone and a decent dock. So I might do other videos in the future about how to do this different ways if it's really busy, if there's not a good dock. You've probably seen some other videos. I do a similar method and I just kind of pull the boat up on the gravel, but I do have a keel guard, so that helps protect your keel, obviously. But overall, I hope this has helped you all out. It is now time for us to go catch some fish.